What's up, guys? Chris here from Mainly Mesh, doing a cool kind of series review today. I've already done a review for the True Temper Composite 4.0 shaft. They sent along this really awesome We the Players kind of false declaration of independence shaft a while back. But they also were kind enough to send along a True Comp LZ 6.0 shaft, which you guys received. One of you guys received in a giveaway yesterday, as well as one of their True Alloy SiTi 6.0 shafts. So, without further ado, I'm going to start kind of at the lower end of their market and work my way up and give you guys kind of a better sense of what they're offering as a line. So the Comp 4.0, I did a review that you should be able to click the link to right here. I'm still learning how to use YouTube, but let's hope that works. Comp 4.0 is a pretty straightforward shaft. It reminds me a lot of what the ECD Carbon was in the 2014 version, not the 2015 line. I believe they use a slightly higher grade carbon fiber in this one, which is why it's worth 110 bucks compared to what the ECD Carbon was at 100 bucks. So it's definitely a strong option. Nothing really crazy here, just kind of your standard entry-level carbon fiber shaft. Nothing too wild, but a very solid option nonetheless. Then on the alloy side of things, because as you guys know, alloy doesn't get me quite as excited as carbon fiber does, but this is the SiTi 6.0 shaft, which I believe retails at 135. Don't quote me on that, which isn't too crazy of a price for a SiTi shaft nowadays, which is scary to say because some of these SiTis are running, I believe, upwards of like 160. So this shaft weighs in 150 grams, which is the same exact weight as the Metal Plus by String-King. So it's a very light shaft. That's right about 5.1 ounces. Something cool that True did with this shaft is they actually added their specific categories, or their what they call the essential properties of the shaft, right onto the graphics of the shaft. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So the lighting's a little tricky. But you can see here it has the essential properties on the side, and it has two different types of strength. So it's got their Sigma, what's it say? Sigma Ultimate and their Sigma Y. So what I believe that is the Sigma Ultimate, I think, is like a compression strength, and the Sigma Y is like a bending strength. I don't really know, so I'm not going to pretend like I do know, but we're going to kind of test it in a non-traditional way a little later on. And then it also has the weight in grams right on the shaft. So it's kind of cool having a shaft company put those properties right on the shaft itself, just as a little bit more transparency than a lot of shaft companies do. So this was I think it's a copper color is what they're calling it, but pretty straightforward graphics. I've always loved the way True Lacrosse does their graphics on their shafts. So just a nice kind of simple with their company blue, and then it's got these big block True letters on the opposite side. So definitely a neat option there. So the SiTi 6.0 also features True's slightly concave grip. So you can see here it's slightly concave. It actually feels almost a little sharp. I think it gives a surprising amount of grip for such a simple shape, because it does have those ridges that can kind of dig into the palms of your gloves a little bit, so you shouldn't need too much tape. Kind of a little cool floor shot there. Overall, cool option, definitely a light metal shaft. You're going to see this shaft in a video coming up soon that'll tell you a little bit more about how it works with other shafts on the market. And last but not least, we have the Comp 6.0 with loading zone technology composite shaft. And this is a very, very unique offering coming from True Temper. So it's got a completely different cross-sectional profile than any other shaft on the market. What True did is they wanted to provide a unique option on the market that allowed you to get some of the snap that you can from a flexing shaft while really maintaining an extra level of consistency and accuracy that a stiffer shaft provides. So how they accomplished that is they actually had 3 different flex areas in the shaft. So at the bottom of the shaft where your hands usually sit on a shot, it's a 9 flex, meaning it's incredibly flexible in between your hands. In the middle part of the shaft, it's your standard 5 flex, which is what most carbon fiber shafts are. And then at the top, it's actually a 1 flex, meaning it's as stiff as can be that you can get with a carbon fiber shaft. And you can actually see that the top is much thicker and the bottom is very thin. This is an interesting concept because typically it goes against your modern kick point theory. So the Joule Lev shafts, which you guys have seen, have a kick point that's focused right underneath the top of the head, about 10 inches down, and then stiffens up again underneath the throat. And that's typically the type of kick point that you're going to want to have if you want to increase the velocity on your shots. You're going to want to have something flexing right underneath the head, but still have a rigid shape right underneath the throat of the head. That's if you're purely going for shot speed. Now, True Lacrosse here wanted to go with something a little bit more in between. So they're not necessarily advertising this is going to give you the fastest shot in the world, which is refreshing coming out of a carbon fiber company nowadays. But what they're saying is that it's going to be kind of an in-between shaft. A few weird things about this though, because the only way to really accomplish this in a carbon fiber shaft is to add more carbon fiber layers at the top of the shaft than at the bottom. This actually creates a top-heavy shaft, which, as you know from what I've talked about balance points in a stick, is kind of my worst nightmare. So the effect that carbon fiber distribution has on the shaft is it actually makes it feel heavier with head on it than a normal shaft like the Comp 4.0. So these are actually pretty similar in their overall weights, but the True 6.0 actually feels more like an 8.5 ounce shaft because of the way it pushes the center of gravity up into the head. So the reason True did this is they're primarily a golf manufacturer. So they make a lot of incredible golf clubs is the word I'm looking for. They make a lot of golf clubs, and when you're golfing, having a higher center of gravity can actually increase the distance in your drive or in your chip or whatever it may be. So you'll see in some golf clubs they'll actually weight the head of the club in order to get a little bit more distance on their swings. The reason that works is because when you're swinging a golf club, you're starting with the center of mass with a high potential energy, meaning that it takes work to bring that weight up into the air, and you're going to convert this potential energy into kinetic energy before you hit the ball. That's kind of some physics stuff that if you guys haven't taken physics yet, you might not know, but basically what you're doing is you're converting this height and this potential energy into kinetic energy or speed at the bottom of your swing, and that's being helped by gravity. But let's say you're shooting sidearm, that doesn't matter as much because gravity's pushing down and you're pushing out, so they're acting in perpendicular planes, so those forces don't really affect each other. But if you're shooting overhand, what's going to happen is a center of gravity that's further away from your body is actually going to require more work, more energy into the stick because you're starting at a place of lower potential energy than where you're releasing the ball. So you're actually trying to add energy you're trying to convert, what am I trying to say? You're trying to add force into your stick so that you can accelerate the ball. Simple, force equals mass times acceleration. If you add mass at the end of your stick, your acceleration is going to go down a little bit with the same amount of force. So overhand, I actually shot a little bit slower with this than I did even the Comp 4.0. That's not to say that this shaft shoots slower all the time. In fact, you could probably game your mechanics in order to really take advantage of this shaft's flex profile, which raises a really interesting question that we've seen before with the Wolf Athletics Ghost shaft. Is it important if we want to get the fastest shot speed to change our mechanics? And with the Wolf Athletics Ghost shaft, I don't think you need to go that far. That thing, it doesn't really play the same when you're passing or when you're cradling. But as far as the Comp goes, this is a shaft that, if you probably took a month or two, kind of like the Joule Lev shafts when they first came out, this could end up being one of your favorite shafts. It's a completely unique flex profile, a completely unique weight, potentially for a middie who likes to keep their stick further away from their body, it could actually increase the hold on your stick just by weighing the ball down, weighing your stick down, so it's staying hugged around the ball a little bit more. I don't really know because I haven't spent too much time with it, so this is going to go back on the wall, and well, another one will go back on the wall and be used in some more testing while this one goes and gets shipped out. So we're gonna definitely keep playing around with this shaft. It's a completely unique option, which is I think my favorite part about it. True isn't really branding this as the be-all, end-all of shafts, which I'm happy about because I definitely don't believe it to be the be-all, end-all of shafts. And for the type of player that I am, it's actually a shaft that I would never consider. But it's unique, and it's something that, you know, it might be the perfect shaft for you guys. So huge props to True for being bold enough to put out a completely unique option and kind of push the envelope a little bit that way. Huge thank you to them for sending over these 3 awesome shafts. You're going to see these a little bit more in the future as we go forward. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure you also like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Mainly Mesh. I believe True Lacrosse's Instagram is just at True Lacrosse, but don't quote me on that. I'll double check that and put it in the info section down below. Other than that, thanks so much. Ask me any questions, as always, and I'll catch you guys next time. And we're done.